Hey, welcome, this is Jelle growing bonsai and it is time for olives. Let's have a look at this little olive. And there's a few things that you may notice. First of all, it has yellowing leaves. Second of all, there's all these sprouts coming from the base of the tree. Third of all, there's moss, there's weeds, and it has come up out of the pot a little bit. You can see that the substrate is all the way up to the rim, and that's definitely not how I potted it up. So let's go through the tree, clean it up, repot it, and get it set for the rest of summer. It is now the last week of July, almost into August, so this work is really best done if it is nice and warm. Olives are warm season plants, so I repot them at the middle of summer for us. That leaves us enough time until the end of growing season to really re-establish. It's warm enough for the roots to regrow, and at the same time the tree has plenty of time to grow new foliage. As you can tell, there's lots and lots of yellowing leaves, and all of these leaves are actually on the inside. That tells me these are old leaves that are falling off. This is normal for an olive, and an olive just drops in early summer the older leaves. And as long as it is not complete branches that go bare, I am not too concerned, as long as I know that the rest of the tree is in good health. I just remove these, but as I look at these branches, I see a branch here where there's yellowing leaves all the way at last year's growing season's growth. So that's only 1 year old, and that's actually too young to be falling off. And I think the moss is an explanation. It's a sign of what else might be wrong with the tree. Last year, when I repotted my olives, I did not repot this one because it was doing really well. Now that we see that substrate has come up, probably this pot is full of roots, hampering drainage. Now, we have been having rain pretty much every single day since October. It's only been dry for a couple of days, and today is one of those glorious sunny days. I think it is the third or fourth day in a row that it is sunny. I think it's just waterlogged, and that hampers the roots, and therefore it starts dropping the leaves, starting with the oldest. So I'm going to just remove all these old yellow leaves. Then I'm going to prune back these long whips that have grown over the season, because it has been doing really well. And I'm going to repot. Now, long whips that you see forming here from the base, these suckers, they actually take the energy from the top. So I'm just pulling them out, just like that. In fact, now the moss just comes with it. And I could, in theory, just plant this up, but I'm not going to, it's not worth it. But this is also how this tree was grown, right? By having multiple of these suckers just grow out and then prune back at some point to develop a nice trunk. And there's nothing special about the pruning here. I'm just pruning it back to the shape that it had it originally, allowing the branches to extend a little bit. And in a year or two, I will do an extensive clean out. But for now, I can just allow these pads that have formed already to stabilize more, become more dense. And I just remove everything that grows out of profile. Like these. This tree has long passed the stage of wiring. I'm just using a gentle clip and grow and a thinning. Removing the yellow leaves, pruning back in profile. And all pruned back, cleaned out, it already looks a lot better. Now I'm just going to take it out of the pot. I'm going to remove all this moss that is growing here and show the nice turtle shell that has developed. And in fact, I can show you all the nice roots that are developing here under the moss. Because that's a benefit of moss, right? It keeps the surface moist, and therefore surface roots develop better. Yep, waterlogged and really root bound. So I'm going to remove most of the roots. Just going to cut a sliver off, reduce the perimeter, open it up a little bit, and just plant it back into new substrate. Mind you, I've had this tree for a long time, so I know that the root ball can be very shallow. Don't do this in a first repot for a tree that you just cut, right? You need to know your tree before you do things this way. Otherwise, just clean it up in a normal way first. Little side roots, and I'm just going to reduce this root because it was curving around. Now this is quite a thick root with quite few side roots, and I'm just removing it also here at the base. You can see here the turtle shell, turtle back, thick area that is growing, and here is where I get all these shoots coming from the soil. Also remove these, gives me a little bit of peace and quiet for a few weeks. And there's another one here as well. Just removing this. These new roots I'm allowing to extend. Here is a little sprout that comes up, we don't want that. And then at the bottom I can also give it a prune, right? All these smooth roots, but my earlier work has done the trick. And now with the root hook I can still clean out a little bit here, the base, but there's not a lot of material left. These are the big roots at the bottom that I eventually will replace, but I'm leaving them in place for now. I think this is pretty much it. Just going to clean up all around, prune it a little bit further back, and then it can go back into the pot. Note I am not just pruning the perimeter, I'm actually taking little bits out, and that way I'm stimulating openness in the root ball, and I'm not removing all the feeder roots that are there. I'm just removing the ones that are growing around. And I'm selectively taking out bigger ones rather than smaller ones wherever possible. Now normally I wouldn't wash out the roots, but you can tell now very clearly this is a clump style bonsai. So all the trunks come from the same root base, and basically it's just a connected root system. I'm going to just pot it back up in the original pot. I think size wise and design wise this is still good. I'm going to give it I'm just going to put a thin layer of pumice in the bottom, add some wire, slide it in, fill it up with substrate and work the substrate between the roots. Now the pot only has 2 holes, and because it is root connected, eventually I want the top of the roots to also be showing. So I'm using 2 wires, one wire and the other wire, and this way later on if I plant it I can loop it around the perimeter of the roots so that you don't see the wire later on. Not perfect, but it will have to do. Pruned, thinned, repotted and watered down. You can go back into the garden. This was Jelle, growing bonsai, just a very short repotting, pruning and thinning out an olive in summer. Thank you for watching and see you next time.